Hello, DM Geezer Jim here, continuing with our audiobook for 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. As always, encouraging you to RTFM, read the frickin' manual. If you ain't got time, you're driving around, you want to hear the book, that's what we're doing here. Continuing along, 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, Chapter 5, Creating Campaigns. The next section is Campaign Starts. As normal, I'll read the stuff first and we'll talk about it second, so let's get into it. Campaign Start. With your campaign journal in hand and the basic premise of your campaign, the characters involved, the conflict, and the setting in mind, it's time to consider how to begin the campaign. Session 0. At the start of a campaign, you and your players can run a special session called Session 0 because it comes before the first session of play to establish expectations, share ideas, discuss house rules with the goal of ensuring that the game is a fun experience for everyone involved. The Ensuring Fun for All section in Chapter 1 covers some of the most important groundwork you need to establish at the start of a new campaign. If you're jumping into this series at this point, go read Chapter 1. Go listen to my videos on Chapter 1. It's important stuff to help you set up a Session 0. Often Session 0 includes building characters together. As the DM, you can help players during character creation by advising them on which options best suit the campaign. Character creation. When players are choosing the characters' classes and origins, you can restrict options that are unsuitable for the campaign. Encourage the players to choose different classes so that the adventuring party has a range of abilities. It's less important that the party include multiple backgrounds or species. Sometimes it's fun to play an all-dwarf party or a troop of adventuring entertainers. The origins the players choose define who their characters were before becoming adventurers. Think about how the characters' backgrounds might inform adventurers in your campaign. For example, if a player chooses a criminal background, help the player flesh out their character's criminal past and use that information when building relevant storylines into the larger campaign. Starting level. What level are the characters when they start? Many D&D campaigns start the characters at level 1. If you want the characters to be a bit more resilient and your players are experienced, start the campaign at level 3 instead. See the player handbook for rules on starting at higher levels. Bringing the party together. During Session 0, help the players come up with explanations for how their characters know each other and have some sort of history together, however brief that history might be. To get a sense of the party's relationships, here are some questions you can ask the players as they create their characters. Are any of the characters related to each other? What keeps the characters together as a party? What does each character like the most about each member of the party? Does the group have a patron, individual, or an organization that points them towards their adventures? If the players are having trouble coming up with a story for how their characters met, you can suggest the following options. A bonding event. Some bonding event, such as a wedding, a festival, or a funeral, brings the characters together, whereupon they quickly discover a shared sense of purpose. Or happenstance. Someone puts out a call for adventurers to complete a quest and the characters answer the call. Alternatively, all the characters could meet by accident, only discover they're headed in the same place, or they could find themselves trapped together. Mutual acquaintance. The characters are introduced to one another by a mutual NPC acquaintance whom they all trust. This shared acquaintance could serve as a patron for the party, perhaps a representative of an organization, an academy, a criminal syndicate, a guild, a military force, or a religious order. Or a politically powerful person such as an aristocrat or even a sovereign, or a magical creature like a sphinx or a dragon. Shared history. The characters grew up in the same place and have known one another for years. Despite their different backgrounds and training, they're already good friends. Or a tavern gathering. The characters meet in a tavern over mugs of ale and decide to embark on a life of adventure together, a tried and true trope. Next thing is setting the stage. Session 0 is a great time to share basic information about the campaign with your players. Such information typically includes the following: the starting location details. Your players need basic information about the place where the characters are starting, such as the name of the settlement, important locations in and around it, and prominent NPCs that they would know about. See starting location next. Key events. Describe any current or past event that helped frame the campaign. For example, the campaign might start on the heels of a great war or on the day of a festival. Describing key events helps set the mood and prepare players for upcoming adventures. House rules. If you're using any house rules as discussed in Chapter 1, or adopting any of the variant rules presented in this or any other book, let your players know about them. Remember, you'll always know more about your campaign world than your players do. Having spent all their lives in this world, though, the characters also know more than their players do. Fill in the basics of what the characters should know anytime that information matters to their adventure. Starting locations. Begin your campaign in a location you can detail, such as a village, a neighborhood in a larger city, an outpost, or a roadside tavern. Be prepared to give players enough information about that location to help them figure out what ties, if any, their characters have to it. Once you have this campaign hub fleshed out, create 1 or 2 local attractions that might serve as adventure locations, such as a haunted house on the outskirts of town or a dungeon complex tucked into the nearby hills. If you're using a published campaign setting, pick any location in that setting and develop it as you'd like. A published setting or adventure might give you all the details you need. The Free City of Greyhawk, described later in this chapter, is an ideal starting location and illustrates the kind of things to consider as you detail a starting location. If you're building your own setting, start small by detailing only this starting area. The rest of your setting can remain undeveloped for now. Don't spend too much time fleshing out the geopolitical landscape of your world or locations the adventurers aren't likely to visit right away. Save those fun tasks for when you and your players have a better sense of where the campaign is headed. First adventure. If you're using a published adventure to launch your campaign, use the character hooks in that adventure to bring the characters from their starting location to the adventure's action. Many campaigns begin with a published adventure and then develop organically as the characters explore beyond the scope of the adventure. If you're creating your own adventure for the start of your campaign, refer to the advice in Chapter 4. Keep the first adventure relatively short and simple, allowing plenty of time for the characters to get to know each other as the players role play. What's most important is they begin to feel like an adventuring party and get comfortable with their abilities. The full scope of the campaign can unfold for them later. And that's the end of that section here, and that's a pretty good section. End of audiobook mode. Commentary coming soon. If you're hanging out for audiobook and nothing else, thank you so much, and we'll see you for the next session. If you're hanging out for comments, here we go. Session 0, super important. Chapters 1 and Chapter 2 give you a lot of information, most of the tools that you'll need to run a helpful, productive Session 0. Whether you're creating your characters together or letting your players create your characters later on their own and come to the table, make sure that you are including information about the campaign setting and any restrictions as far as races, classes, abilities, or whatever that you might have. Likewise, you're also discussing your homebrew rules and everything else during your character creation. Bringing the party together. This is very important. One of the biggest questions here is what keeps the characters together as a party? Your players, and this is something that they are responsible for, not necessarily you. They have to have a reason to continue adventuring together. They have to have a reason for their party of Chaos Goblins to still remain together other than we're just playing D&D. This is something that you need to have a chat with your characters, but feed off of theirs. Why are you guys here? We all started out on a prison barge together. Okay, so what happened on that prison barge that made you guys decide to stay together once you escaped? Why do our characters stay together? That's the most important thing in this section. The rest of these little things are kind of fun, but what keeps the characters together as a party is something that's going to matter to begin with, and it's going to continue popping up over the course of your campaign as your players make decisions. This is a little bit of commentary here. I forewarn your DM. You will typically see your party degenerate to the lowest common denominator, meaning if your party has a murder hobo in it and the murder hobos, before long the rest of the party will find themselves being murder hobos, okay? Something about no one wants to tell another player how to play their character, but they'll let another player's play determine how they play their character. I don't understand that, but it is a thing to keep in mind as you gain experience running games. You will see that happen often. Why are you guys together again? Why are we letting the most irresponsible person in the group decide what we're doing? That's y'all's choice as players, not mine as a DM. I'm just here to react to what you guys decide to do. But it doesn't make sense to me why you guys are adventuring together. You are allowed to say that, and you are allowed to remind your party to that of those things. This is talking about chapter 1, making sure everyone has fun together, right? Setting the stage. This is all pretty important stuff here. Setting the stage, starting location. The first couple sessions of your adventure are going to set the theme and the tone for the rest of it, especially now that we're going into campaign play. We're just trying to get the party started down the road. What does the start of that road look like? So you definitely need to flesh out your starting location. The idea being that your players know about this area, especially if they all grew up in the town of Solace. From Dragonlance. Everyone that is a companion of the Lance lived in that town, knew that town, so the characters are going to know more about the town than the players ever will. So you need to be able to give that information to the players so they can let their characters behave properly, right? And that's what the starting location in the first adventure are mainly about. Getting our players established in the world, making sure that they understand where they are, where their characters are today. And the section about the section about the first adventure. When we're looking at campaign play, try not to put the entirety of the campaign's premise out in adventure 1. You can tell them what the theme is in session 0, what the overall idea is in session 0 when it's Dungeon Master talking to players. But when it's DM talking to the characters, the first adventure should be about them forming their bonds, about them getting to know each other as characters, revealing their quirks, revealing their goals, revealing their their aspirations, their long-term goals. This is your first couple sessions, your first couple adventures are about building the party, not about telling the story, not about putting the big reveal for the campaign out there. Sometimes you might see that your campaign idea is not going to work as your players are finding themselves as a group, as your players are establishing the rhythm and the tempo and the camaraderie and the chemistry, the rapport, if you will. You may realize that one of the 3 adventures, remember, we're supposed to be looking at 3 possible conflicts for our campaign, that none of these 3 are going to support the players. Well, that's okay. We're still early enough in our campaign design to reorganize and plan things out that build upon the players' cohesion, build upon the why the party is together, and build upon the what the party likes to do, right? So that's what your first adventure is on. And that's really all you need to be worried about for this section. It is a useful section, creating campaigns, just simply reiterating what we already know from chapter 4, but with a big focus on getting the campaign started with a session 0, with getting your party to get together, and with starting to build that party cohesion. That's what all of this chapter is about, and there's some good advice here. Good deal, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. Thank you so much for your time. Likes, follows, subscribes are appreciated. Do all the buttons, push all those things. And most importantly, come back for our next episode. We'll see you guys soon.